I want to talk about lawyer fees. Lawyer fees, right? So, how much do lawyers charge? What are some of the fee models and how do they do it? Okay, so there's four types, right? It's not exact, but I'll give you four ways of looking at things. Okay. There's lawyers who charge by the hour. And a lot of times you'll see that with non-criminal attorneys, right? Criminal attorneys don't usually charge by the hour. There's certain situations in which they do, but for the most part, if you have a criminal attorney, they don't charge by the hour. But a civil attorney might. And that rate could vary from $100 an hour to $500 an hour or even more. It just depends. And a lawyer who charges by the hour, usually they're going to charge a retainer up front. So let's say somebody charges you $100 an hour, just as by way of example, $100 an hour. And they say, okay, but my retainer is a 10-hour retainer. So you got to put up $1,000 before they even get started. And so they put that into a certain account, right? And as they work on your case, they bill from the amount that you already gave them. And if there's money left over, by the time their work is done, they give it back to you. And if they run out of money, they hit you up again and say, hey, I've worked 10 hours. I still need to do more work on this case. I think I need this much more. Or if you want, I'll just do the work and then send you a bill for how much time it's spent. You just let me know. So that's what that is. All right. They charge by the hour, but they're going to charge you a retainer up front as a security of work that they're going to do and have to do. Another model is what's called a contingency. Those you see with the car accident attorneys, personal injury attorneys, they don't charge you to take their case. They get paid if they win the case. So by way of a simple example, let's say they get a settlement of $100,000 for your case. You get in a car accident and you get a $100,000 settlement. What they're going to do is they're going to take a percentage. It could be 33%, 40, or 50%, depending on certain situations. But let's say they take 33%, right? So they're taking that 33% off the 100, right? So you got a $100,000 settlement. They're taking 33%, right? So you're left with what, 66, right? And then they're actually going to take fees and different stuff, but don't worry about all that. But they're going to take a percentage off the winning or off the settlement. So the settlement's $100,000. They're taking 33% off of that. So they're taking $33,000 from that, and that's how they get paid. That's the model for a lot of like the car accident guys, the guys you see on television, stuff like that. Then you have other attorneys, like employment attorneys or attorneys who do civil rights work. They do kind of, not everybody, but you'll see it. It's a combination. They do what's a combination of a contingency fee as well as a retainer up front to start the work. So let's say you come because you're a waitress and you want to sue the place you've been working because you feel like they've been messing y'all over for tips, right? And there's a law against that. There's a federal law against that. So you get what's called an employment attorney, an attorney who specializes in labor and employment issues. And that attorney might say, okay, well, it's going to take me this much time to kind of research your issue. And so I'll take this fee up front to research the issue as a retainer. And then if I try to take the case and I end up getting you a settlement, I'll take a percentage of that. So that's another one. And then the fourth model is, again, this is going back to criminal cases. If you can't afford an attorney and you get appointed, a court-appointed attorney or a public defender, you don't have to pay. The county pays that attorney. So that's not something you have to worry about, but the county pays. Or the state, depending on what the system is. They pay that attorney. Those are kind of some basic fee models. There's always variations of different things like that, but that's a way. Again, most criminal attorneys don't charge by the hour. Some do, but most don't. They'll just charge you a fee up front. They'll say, hey, my fee is $1,500, $2,000, $5,000. This is what my fee is. Actually, I'm thinking about it. I guess that is another model too. Person who just charges a lump sum and gives you payment plans. Like, oh, it'll be $5,000 to do this case, and you can pay it in 3 payments. That's another thing as well. That's another way, and you'll see that with a lot of criminal attorneys. Criminal attorneys just charge you a straight up fee, and they'll say, hey, it's this much. Some people do payment plans, some people don't. It just all depends. It just all depends on the attorney you're dealing with. There's no rule for how they got to do it. That's the thing too. There's really no rule for this, right? It's just attorneys tend to follow whatever the customary practice is in that practice of law. That's kind of how that's set up. So, to recap, okay, so criminal attorneys, they charge you a straight up fee, and sometimes they do payment plans, sometimes they don't. They got the hourly fee people, mostly civil attorneys, you know, people you need somebody to sue a business partner or something like that. You got the contingency fee model, which is personal injury attorneys and car accident attorneys. They get paid if they win the case, and they'll take a percentage off of the earnings of the settlement. Again, $100,000, they might take 33% or 40%. And then you have the hybrid model, which is the people like an employment attorney. They might charge a retainer up front to look into the case and do some work. And then if they take the case, they might take a percentage afterwards. And I guess now, instead of 4, there's 5 if you count the court-appointed. Court-appointed attorney, you don't usually have to pay them. For the most part, sometimes you got to pay them back, but for the most part, you don't have to pay them. The county pays them, whether it be a public defender's office or a court-appointed attorney you get. So kind of 5. I would say 5 if you include how court-appointed attorneys get made. That's some basic fee systems or fee structures for how attorneys get paid.